Opinions. My name is Josh, and we have a full house here today. We have Brent.
Yeah.
We have Mike.
Hello.
And we have Kara.
Hola.
So this episode, we are going to go around and defend what we consider to be the best cooperative game that we have ever played, as defined by our own standards. But before we get into that, let's talk about some little things we've played and gaming news. Mike, why don't you go first?
All right. Well, I know why you're picking me first. I have one piece of embarrassing information to share with everybody. I've been recently playing Uncharted, as we talked about on the Game Boy versus Game Gear episode.
Mm-hmm.
While I was playing, I was like, this just wants to be a movie. Why haven't they made a movie about this? And also, why is, what did I say? And
Nathan Fillion.
Why has Nathan Fillion not been tapped to play the lead role? Like, this seems like it was perfect for him.
Mm-hmm.
And you legit thought I was, like, messing with you.
Yeah, I thought you were joking because, Mike, what year does he think this is?
Yep, totally missed the bus on that one. I'd never gotten into Uncharted before, and it turns out I had the same thoughts as everyone else in the country 7 years ago.
I pulled up these news articles. I'm like, 2010, 2011, 2010. I'm like, you seeing this?
And unfortunately for you, the current one is Tom Holland in a prequel game, so...
Yeah, but that was after Marky Mark dropped it, so we'll see how this goes.
It's never going to get made.
I think that one might have had Robert De Niro in it, too.
What?
It had a bunch of weird casting. Anyways.
Well, that was really my only story.
Okay. How are you enjoying Uncharted?
I think it's great. My only gripe, aside from the controls are a little rough, but I expected that in the first game. It was the same way with Assassin's Creed. But it feels like it just wants to be a movie. That's why I asked you, why isn't it just a movie? I feel like they came up with a really great script. They couldn't get enough money to make a movie, so they were like, well, we'll make a game. Let's try that.
That's what Hideo Kojima did.
Oh, too real, too real. All right, well, Brent, what about you?
Still playing Mass Effect Andromeda.
And what are you thinking of that?
I mean, I'm enjoying it. I know Mike didn't like it.
No, I absolutely loved it. Not case in point, but point of order. I loved the game. It's just too much. I put 30 hours into it, and I'm only 30% through the game.
Yeah, I won't lie. There's a lot to this game.
In a good way or a bad way?
I don't know. Like, I'm enjoying it, but I do want to get to the next game.
Got it. So that's a bad way.
Yeah, it's
well, not. It's back to my backlog makes me probably lose enjoyment in games sometimes because I want to get through the list of games.
Mm-hmm. Metroid Prime Trilogy begs to differ, Brent. Yeah. Anyways, some little gaming thing, though.
Oh, they gave a release date for the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Now, that's a game you guys are excited about, isn't it?
very much so.
Yeah, I'm intrigued with it.
Made by the same guys as the Arkham games, right?
No,
this is a different one.
Insomniac?
I think it's made by the people who made Ratchet and Clank.
Even better.
Clank. Okay, yes, much better. I knew it was some big studio that I was a fan of.
Kara, what about you? What have you been playing?
Well, we just finished the Nonary game, the first one up, which was pretty exciting. It was a little weird and a lot of reading, but I mean, to be expected. I'm intrigued to see how they play the mechanics work into the next series of games and how they build on the mechanics. Because I liked a lot of where they were going, but it could have used a lot more work.
But we're not going to get into that too much because...
we should be doing that here in the future once we finish the rest of them.
Yeah, at some point when we finish all three of those games up, we're going to have Chris and probably Kraus on.
Isn't the one really long, though?
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Kara's going to stick it out to the end, because the third one is supposed to be like 35 hours long, and visual novels are not normally your bit.
If it's good enough.
Yeah, we'll see. It got real weird in the first game. You guys will never play it, and... it started talking. You'd be like stuck in a freeze, and they'd be like, what do you think of morphogenetic field theory? It's like, we're going to freeze to death. Like, what are you talking about?
Just get the dry ice and move on.
Yeah.
Look, when I'm in near-death situations, that's when I like to get real philosophical.
I like to wax philosophical. But anyways.
I'm also excited they put a release date out for the Spyro remaster.
They did.
I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
They do. Yeah, we just have to beat the Crash Bandicoot garbage heap.
The side eye cannot be heard through the microphone.
Is it just
is
because
not
you played
a trash heap.
I was going to say, is it just because you played the first one, which wasn't good in the first place?
We tried starting up the second one, and I was not a fan, but I was pretty salty. So, Mike, you look like you had something.
You have no nostalgia and don't have a huge affinity for those games to begin with.
I don't.
So
Sucks. Mike?
Well, I was just surprised by your reaction because the last time I was over here and you guys were playing them, you seemed to really be enjoying them, and then you were super negative, so I didn't know what changed.
When did you see me enjoy that?
My enjoyment was overpowering him. That's what was going on.
You were more accepting.
Or I feel like sometimes
Right.
Josh does enjoy it. He just doesn't want to admit he's enjoying it.
I will. When does that happen?
Like, apparently he likes coming of age things, as told on this podcast that I was unaware of.
Yeah, that happened in one of the more recent episodes. I got outed. Yeah.
Well, you outed yourself. You didn't really get outed.
She doesn't listen to these. You outed me, you jerk. A lot of words went through my mind.
Dark brain.
Anyways. So, anything else, Carol?
That's it for me.
I myself beat the PS1 classic game Suikoden 2. It was really good. Don't giggle about the pronunciation, Brent. It was a really good game, but without the glasses and nostalgia on, it had a lot of bugs that were evident to me. For example, I'd be in these big, what are supposed to be climactic battles where my army was fighting the other people's army, but there was no background sound. Like, they forgot to put the background music into these fights. Or I would recruit somebody whose big thing was she would sing, and her song was so pretty that it's like, oh, I have to have her in my army. And they forgot to put the song in. So it's just like 2.5 minutes of somebody moving their mouth. You know, like, wow, I want them here because they're a mute and I would be ableist if I didn't bring them along. But, like, there's just a lot of weird bugs. You can bring the protagonist from the first game over, but due to a bug with the naming conventions, it takes whatever capital letter is in their name and makes it the first letter of their name in the second game. So my guy's name was Tyr, T-I-R, and his last name was McDowell, M-C-D-O-H-L. So when it came over to the second game, his name was Tickdole, T-C-D-O-H-L. Like, this sucks. And the localization was so weird. There were parts of the game they forgot to localize. Like, I would go up to a guy's like, I have a juicy secret. Do you want to pay 100 gold for it? I'm like, ooh, juicy secret. And it was just hexadecimal code because they tried to translate the Japanese text directly over. Like, the game was good, though. I just want to...
Oh, yeah.
Sounds
Aside
great.
from all of that, it was phenomenal.
It really was. It had a great story, great characters, and at some point I'm sure a few people would like to talk with me more extensively about it. I just want to touch on the things that made me go, huh, that is curious. But anyways, all that aside, they also announced recently that there were going to be 4 more DLC episodes of FF15 going into late 2019, I guess, meaning FF15 itself has had a 3-year release cycle, 8 DLC episodes, and the main game, in addition to the quality of life patches. Like, this is insane. The last DLC is for the main character of the game. The game was for the main character. They don't need a DLC. It's supposed to be an alternate grand finale.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. No idea. No clue. Right? We'll find out here in a year and a half. Anyway, and at that point, maybe we can buy the Super Ultra Complete Edition. Anyways, all that being said, let's get on to our main topic. And this is going to be set up a lot like our RTS episode, where we all make cases for what we believe our favorite cooperative game is, and other people can add to it, say why they disagree, etc., etc. So to get the ball rolling, I'm going to go with one that's kind of a mindless, fun game for me, and that would be Resident Evil 5. Now, this was the first main list RE game that allowed you to do co-op gaming, and you could either play as Chris Redfield or Shiva Alomar, a new character for this game. And the idea behind it was you got to play basically RE4, but with 2 people, and I will admit that the inventory system wasn't nearly as strong as RE4 because you could only hold, 4 or 8 items? I truthfully
Something
don't
like
remember. And what really made it silly for that was that it meant that, like, a minigun took up the same amount of space as an egg. That's why the RE4 system was better, because it actually made you think about how much space all of these things took up. But while you were playing cooperatively, it had a lot of really strong points, such as your different characters had different routes they had to go when you were progressing through the game. So if you were playing as Chris and he got stuck in an area, the player who was being Shiva or Sheva? I know you played it extensively, Mike.
I always said Shiva.
Yeah, I thought it was Shiva.
Okay. It's been a while since I played it. When I originally played it, I put somewhere in the vicinity of 50 hours into this game. I remember I tried to play it with Kara years later, and I had it so thoroughly beaten that we got about a stage into it, and she went, "This is dumb. I don't want to do this." Because...
Well, I'm a big fan of the earlier Resident Evil games to begin with, when you're fighting creatures, not just men with guns. And
To be fair, they are zombies with guns. Make it stupider.
And on top of that...
it fits the game.
My opinion of this game is very bad.
Well, and that's the thing. And so then it was already that whole plot was already run for me. And then you bring in the fact that I'm coming in later. I didn't want to play it. And he's like, just play through it with me. It'll be fine. And he goes in and he has a minigun and everything else. And so I'm like, I'm going to try and shoot this guy. And he's just like, room dead. Okay, cool.
So my 4 weapons I had when we were playing was the minigun, the infinite ammo rocket launcher, the infinite ammo like super magnum, and the infinite ammo long-range shotgun. And Kara's like, I'm going to go take care of it. And I just kind of sit back. She'd be like, oh no, monsters. And I'd take out my magnum and be like, pop! Like, this sucks. And that's why I enjoyed it. Because I played through this game. I think I've played through this game like 9 times or something. I'm woefully overpowered. And that's why I enjoyed it so much, was because the more you played it, mind you, the story was garbage. I'm not going to pretend the story was good. It was against a guy who could catch RPGs with his bare hands. Like
Lava crab monster.
Yeah, lava crab monster. I miss him. But anyways...
He's got to punch the boulder to not die.
Right. Okay. So here is a great example. I thought the game was very strong cooperatively because you both felt like you needed to help each other to progress, but you also felt incredibly capable on your own.
Yeah, because if you played it as a single player...
Well, we're going to get to that here in a sec.
Or if the other person hadn't already beat the shit out of it.
Or that. So... Kara didn't have the same enthusiasm because she didn't progress through this game like me. She was playing as an actual newbie in normal mode, where the guy with the chainsaw actually provides a threat. Meanwhile, I'm looking like Road Warrior over here with the minigun, wearing my shades with the metal shoulder pads because I bought the costumes. That's how into this game I was. I'm like, Road Warrior Chris, this is the best. And I really like the sense of progression. Like, when we beat the game the first time, we beat it, 9-ish hours, something like that. And we enjoyed it enough that we immediately started it back up in New Game Plus, which was enjoyable because now we got to mow through everything. And when we beat it in less than 5 hours, we got the unlimited rocket launcher, which allowed us to boot up the hardest difficulty, Professional, where everything would put you in critical in one hit. And when we found that out, we were super grateful we got the unlimited rocket launcher, because I don't think we used anything else in that game. It was super fun. I loved it to death. And I know that some people are a little more critical of the game because, Brent, I have never played this game single player. The only time I did so was to get an achievement that required me to thank my AI partner so many times, because this was a game I really wanted to get all the achievements on because I really enjoyed it. Now, Brent, I heard, had a much different opinion. Now, Brent, playing this single player, what was your opinion?
She's an idiot. All I remember is, what is the thing you fight? The flying, giant moth crab monster thing?
Oh, that's relatively early. It comes up from a valley or something, doesn't it?
So you have to put those mines down. Yeah. You have to put the mines down.
I never used mines in that fight. I didn't even know you had to.
Yeah, it told you that's what you're supposed to do, and I place them down. It's like, yeah, get it to step on the mines. And she'd run behind me and pick them up. And I'm like, you are stupid, put them down. And she just grabbed them all, so I hit them.
When has a Resident Evil partner ever been good? What do you expect?
We're coming at a bias on this.
What was it, Penny in a church or whatever from the previous?
Well, in RE4, it was Ashley. But that was an escort mission. The one that was real garbage was RE0 because everything about that game was garbage. Mike, you look like you had a side note on this.
Well, I have a dissenting opinion. I really liked, even when you played single player, I thought she was a decent AI. Now, you couldn't be like an idiot and give her like any kind of health if she had been damaged. Because the computer's going to automatically heal itself.
I took that away from her after she started doing that to me. But
yeah, see, now Brent it was fascinating because watching him play this, the last fight in the game, I had no idea how it was supposed to normally progress. So Brent's like, I can't get this person to go where she's supposed to go because I forgot to give her ammo before she got up there. And now she's just...
I had to take it all away from her.
See, now, I'm going to say something here. Now, you are aware that a computer system is a reflection of the intelligence of the individual using it. You don't seem to have improved your using of the AI at any point in time in the game.
If you give her stuff, she uses all of it. In inappropriate moment.
Now, I will provide... Brent's complaints about the AI in this game are ones that were widely criticized upon the release of this game. It was said that she was not a great partner, not one that I ever witnessed, and they countered this in RE6.
Was Aaron.
Yeah, no, Aaron was pretty good. He's pretty decent.
No, I will admit, was it the best? Absolutely not. But once I figured out how to work with it, I thought she was decent, at least compared up to games up to that point.
Now, RE6 countered this by making it so your AI partner was an immortal god creature. They could not be killed. They always had healing items and had infinite ammo. Like, it was...
They called y'all a bunch of sissies and give you what y'all cried for.
Yeah, it was
overcorrection.
Not great. It actually made it so I didn't want to play RE6 cooperatively because it felt like a hindrance to play cooperatively. Now, what's interesting in RE5, there were 2 DLCs that came out. The first one addressed the fact that a lot of people complained about the fact RE5 was not survival horror. So this basically took you to the Wesker Mansion and you had to go to a different Wesker Mansion. And you had to do a bunch of old school puzzles and there were enemies who could kill you real fast. And it had old school co-op puzzle flair. And then the second DLC is like, no, we're going full action. It was just Rambo down like 400 enemies.
That being said, I did enjoy co-oping the challenge levels.
But the challenge levels were essentially like that. Not Umbrella Chronicles. There was some game that came out somewhat recently that was nothing but challenge maps, but that's also not Resident Evil at all.
Yeah, Umbrella Chronicles was the rail shooter.
But anyway.
Which is also garbage.
I didn't feel like there was survival horror to the 5th one to call it Resident Evil.
I thought there were survival horror elements earlier in the game. By the time you got to the tanker and everybody was wearing berets and carrying around assault rifles, it's just out the window.
At the point I turned the one hatch and they're just like standing there with assault rifles. I'm like, okay, we're there.
This is where we're at. But anyways, that's what I think my favorite co-op game of all time is, just because I thought it was a lot of fun and there wasn't enough detraction there. It didn't punish you for having multiple people for the QTEs unless I'm wrong, and I can't remember that for a fact. They might have. I might have gotten very angry at my co-op partner a few times about that, but I really can't remember. It wasn't enough to actually detract from my experience. Brent, why don't you go next for what your favorite co-op game was?
First I want to mention my runner-up, though.
Go ahead.
Well, Star Fox Zero, just because I really enjoyed the gameplay to that.
Yeah, but only as co-op. Sorry.
I enjoyed it single player, but it was immensely easier with co-op.
Yeah, we played through that game cooperatively on the Wii U. It was much easier because why, Brent?
Because as a co-op game, one player controls the flying with the regular controller, and the other has to control the shooting with the gamepad, which can kind of be obtuse sometimes, where you have to turn around on the couch and aim the opposite direction like an idiot.
Yeah, but I don't think I would have beat that game single player. It just didn't seem fun.
It made some of the final boss battle way easier.
Okay. But what is your actual favorite?
X-Men Legends.
And that game came out on what?
PlayStation 2.
Okay.
And I think PC.
And what was your favorite co-op?
Oh, and GameCube and Xbox. What did you call these kind of games?
Isometric. Was that really isometric? Was it Diablo?
Screenshot for you.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure. That didn't have a fixed camera angle, though, did it?
Not. I think you could spin it around.
Then that's not. I mean, it's
more like Gauntlet Legends.
Okay, Gauntlet Legends.
Yeah, that's definitely not isometric.
Anyways, so what made this your favorite co-op game?
So I enjoyed it, well, because I like X-Men, but I enjoyed it because it was an interesting role-playing game where...
Role-playing game?
Well, it was an RPG.
You did level up?
Yeah. You leveled up every character, well, as long as you played as them. Where you had a team of 4 characters, because I played it both single-player and co-op with a friend of mine. It can be difficult, because like Gauntlet Legends, where you're trying to do things, and someone gets really stupid and falls off a cliff, or jumps into fire, or something else dumb. Because you're stuck. It's one of those ones where the camera angle is stuck on the group. You know what I mean there?
Right.
So you have to stay together. And if someone runs off, it becomes a difficult situation. I enjoyed it a lot.
Was it something that you believe would be as doable single player? Like, did you find it more enjoyable with co-op? What did the co-op bring to the game?
A sense of fun difficulty.
Now, I'm going to need some expansion there.
I don't know how to explain it. Like,
okay.
It was fun having to work around, working with friends, trying to beat specific enemies.
Was there friendly fire in this game? Like,
No.
I'm very confused. When you say work around, so did they make it actively more
situations? You played Gauntlet Legends, which is the only thing I feel I can relate this to you with.
Okay.
So when you get into a situation where someone would fall off a cliff, and those kind of situations.
So the fun was dealing with your friends being terrible? Like, I'm missing... Am I missing something here?
I don't know how to explain that.
Okay. So then, did you think that in other similar games... Did you think in other similar games that this was done poorly? Did you think this was the best example of this kind of co-op being executed?
That I played. I'm sure there have been way better ones.
What made it better or worse than Gauntlet?
Better controls. But that was like a decade. Gauntlet was on N64, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So probably 5 years in between the two.
So just to be clear, what you liked most about this was dealing with your friends being dumb.
Am
I hearing this wrong?
Like, do you like it because you all got like mess around and have fun, like playing Mario Kart backwards and just doinking around?
Or like Four Swords, where you could like knock your friends off.
Yeah, somewhat. Like, did you actively antagonize each other?
Occasionally, yes.
Okay.
So what you enjoyed most about this is that you guys could be dicks to each other.
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
All right. See, that makes sense. The way you were explaining is like, oh, look, there goes somebody off a cliff. Ha ha. Now you've made it harder. I don't... Like, what's fun about it? Like, you see my confusion here, right?
Yes.
I like it because I can turn a non-competitive game into a competitive game.
Okay. So, how do we make this cooperative, but still not cooperative? Active antagonism.
But another thing that I liked about it was you had to balance your team out. You couldn't just put specific types. Like, you couldn't have Wolverine and Beast and a bunch of people that were just beat up people, because there were ways to get across certain puzzles, and you had to have people that could do them.
Could you active switch people out, or did you set your loadout?
No, you had to set your loadout before every mission.
So what happened if you got to a certain puzzle and you couldn't? Did you just have to bail?
You had to go back.
Huh. Now see, that's actually a strong case, having to think out the composition ahead of time. So that's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, like there would be places where you'd have to, like I can think of the Morlock sewer level, where they would break bridges and stuff, and you have to go across gaps. So you have to have like Iceman or like a Jean Grey, someone who could lift everyone over the gap.
Gotcha. Now, has there been any game, X-Men or otherwise, that you've known of that's been similar to this since then?
Because the sequel to this...
Okay.
And the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, which were made by the same people.
So what makes this one your favorite as opposed to the latter two?
To be fair, it's the only one I co-opted.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for sticking to the heart of this discussion. So,
because I beat the second one by myself.
Do you think the sequels would have had similar strengths had you brought additional people?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, maybe those are dated at this point. I wouldn't say go check it out. But do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No.
All right. Kara, I know that you have a game that you felt very strongly about that we co-opted, actually. You want to go ahead and give the rundown?
Yeah, so mine is Dead Space 3. I thought that was one of the more unique co-op games that I've played. Normally, I'm a much more of a couch co-op kind of person, just because I feel like consoles have gotten more and more away from that, and you're only supposed to have friends, strange friends online, and you can't play anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. So, Dead Space 3, one of the biggest things that I think sets this game apart is that they utilize two characters kind of going crazy from the effects of the previous games, and they use that to add story to the multiplayer. Not a ton, but there's 3 additional missions because of Carver going crazy, which is who you play as the second player. And then the first game was all about survival, the second game was about escape, so they needed something to set it apart from the first two, and I think that's what they kind of used in a good way to not only add to the co-op aspect, but kind of change it up, because there's only so many things you can do with horror games before you start to run out and get ridiculous like Resident Evil. So I thought that was a good trade-off to bringing that around to something different. And it was really fun playing, because we had our TV set up in separate rooms. I was in the bedroom, he was in the living room, and we start walking through, and I think one of the first things was like, oh god, there was a beach ball, and I'm like, oh, I'll put a beach ball, and he just kind of brushed me off, and then we go along, and I'm like, ooh, toy soldier. I'm like, what are you seeing? I'm like, there's a toy soldier right there. And I'm like, this whole room, there's confetti and streamers and a little helicopter. Like, he's like, so he gets up and he comes in here, he's like, none of this is on my screen. I'm like, well, I am going slightly crazy, but it was just a really fun experience. So we ended up actually taking the TV from the bedroom and setting it up on a side thing in the living room so we could both see what was going on each other's screen and seeing what the full differences was. But even still, even not being able to do that and playing actually truly farther apart from each other, you have the other person relating things back to you, and you're both actually going crazy in different ways. So while the other one doesn't necessarily have hallucinations, you're both kind of talking crazy to each other in real life. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
It was fascinating. I'd just like to add a little note here, because it did happen exactly that same way. And when you don't play it cooperatively, like Brent never encountered Carver in the main game, because single player.
No, Carver is slightly in the single game, but very, very minutely. And
it happened exactly like you said, where we did have it set, because originally we didn't want to have them in the same room because it was a huge pain in the butt, both televisions. And she's like, she's in the other room. What are these toy soldiers for in here? Because these co-op missions are discrete instances. Like, you have to go to a place and start them. Like, toy soldiers? She's like, oh, happy birthday. Pause the game. Okay, man, I'm like, this is not... What?
And I remember you experienced the bloody wife wandering around, and I'm pretty sure I just started to shoot her. I'm like, oh, look, blood just sprays off when I shoot her. Poor wife, come here.
Yeah, I remember when I came over, I'm like, why are there 2 TVs?
yeah, there's a 32-inch next to the 52-inch. Like, what's going on here? And I don't want to mow your lawn. Go ahead, darling.
I mean, if you have something else to add.
Well, you might get to it later. There were certain points where the main character, like, starts to go crazy. Is that something you were going to address? Like, you go inside your own mind?
Yeah, so that is during the parts of the missions, how I said it adds 3 additional missions. Mm-hmm. In those parts, that's one of the things I like about this game. Some people could see it as a downside, is so when Carver goes crazy, Isaac's over here and he has to fend off a bunch of other necromorphs that are trying to get him while he's over in his fantasy world having the birthday party with his son he never had. And...
He did have the son. This actually isn't alluded to in the main game.
No, he had the son. He never got to go to the birthday party.
Right.
That was...
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. But other than that, one of the things that I liked about it was that otherwise, for the most part, there's not a bunch more necromorphs in the game when you go single player or go multiplayer. A lot of times in single player to multiplayer, you just get huge hordes of enemies to the point I feel like it's almost unfair. And that's not what I'm really looking for in a co-op. I want to... still have friends by the time I'm done with it and not just be bickering back and forth about having issues fighting the monsters. So I don't I thought the storyline and everything, and there was enough. The monsters were really interesting. They added new mechanics to that. I felt they were like flickered a little bit differently and moved differently than they had in the previous games. So that was enough for me that I liked. There wasn't hordes. Like I said, some people might not see that as a benefit, but I liked it. Though overall, I would play it single player, I guess. But if you have someone to play it with, the single player, you still have all the great weapon components and sword. I'm looking your customization, bridge, your workbench. You have your whole weapon workbench, and you can customize and build those and get blueprints. You also have your kinesis in this game, which is a lot of fun because you get excited when you approach an enemy with a rocket launcher because you can kinesis the rocket launcher out of their hands and blow them all up. So it's not very often in games where you're like, sweet, an enemy with a rocket launcher. So, and then, there's the whole aspect of the crazy unitology religion, and the moon can turn into a necromorph that consumes the planet.
Whoa, spoilers. I'm kidding. This is like
this game.
And it's a franchise that's done.
Yes, the franchise is over. We're never getting an answer to the necromorph.
I feel like it's a good horror ending. It sucks.
Okay, so I want to make sure we don't skip over this. The DLC, the co-op aspect of the DLC, I don't think should be downplayed either. Were you going to touch on this? So in the DLC, it was definitely a more horror focus. Like, it was called Dead Space 3 Awakened, I think it was.
I'm sorry. I didn't remember that the Awakened. We had just bought them all together and played them through each other. I forgot that was even a DLC part.
Well, and we gamed the system. Brent, did you want to?
I was going to say why it was different, but
okay. So we gamed the system for this because I didn't want to pay twice for the DLC, so we could both play it. What I had done was I bought Dead Space 3 and then we rented a second copy and we beat it real fast. And I want to play the DLC before we have to take it back. So the way that licensing works, I bought a copy of the DLC on one console and then I went to a different console and downloaded it. And anybody can play the DLC on the console of purchase, but only the purchaser can play it on other consoles. So Kara could play it on the one I bought it on, and I could play it on our other 360. So we managed to play through the DLC with only buying it once. And I'm like, ha! Eat it. Yay.
Hopefully that's not a violation of your EULA, or you just admitted to fraud.
Yeah, I sincerely hope that a development studio that's since been shut down doesn't come after me for a 6-year-old DLC that's probably free in most Humble Bundles now. I'm the reason.
You're the reason.
I think it was EA.
But anyways, neither here nor there. Who wanted to touch on why this was different?
Well, one of the story was Isaac is starting to see hallucinations again.
Yeah, so he didn't see hallucinations for a lot of the third game because in the second game, he kind of cured himself of his marker madness. And that was the real thing I liked about it.
You did get a flash of it right in the very beginning of the game, though.
But not like you did in the first and second game?
No.
The second game, you got it the worst. But in the third game, that's what was awesome about Carver in the co-op missions, was you got to see all that crazy the second game had. Like, Brent didn't get to see any of this.
Besides you guys telling me, the only other way I found out about it was when I watched the playthrough the Team 4-Star did.
Oh, right.
When they did it as Vegeta and Nappa.
Right. So that was what was awesome about the co-op. But in the Awakened DLC, they started bringing back some of those crazy hallucinations again. And the culmination of that, this was awesome, was the final fight. Do you remember this?
Yeah, you had to claw your way up, just constantly killing enemies up like an endless hill thing.
Well, what I was referring to was, so you become your characters become progressively less trusting of each other, despite the fact that you've gone through this whole game watching each other's back. It's like, you're the reason we're not going back. Well, you let your family die. It gets barbed between the two of them. And the cult leader is egging them on, and you're going after this cult leader, and you think you're about to fight him, and you reach a boiling point with your co-op partner, and then the lights flicker, and you start fighting your co-op partner, and it's awesome, because the lights flicker, and suddenly your co-op friends attacking you. And the only thing that could have made this stronger is if the game required you to have an in-game chat client. That way they could have cut out the chat client when you were dealing with them so you didn't know that they weren't attacking you. But there was nothing they could do there. So it becomes where you think the person's turning on you. And then when you kill them, the lights flicker and now there's 3 of them. Like, whoa! And it's actually pretty awesome because by the time you kill all of them and you come to your senses and you're both like, are you okay? Is that fine? The cult leader goes, we've distracted you for long enough. The Brother Moons have found Earth. Uh-oh. So it's a really awesome execution of an asynchronous co-op element that brings a horror element in a really unique way. And unfortunately makes an incredible downer for a series we're never going to see again. So it was a great co-op game, and I'll let you segue out of this. I don't want to steal all your thunder here.
No, I mean, that was pretty much, I mean, I thought that was, again, like the ending of that, like I said, the Brother Moon's coming to consume the Earth. Like, how more metal can you get in a game? Like,
I don't know where a 4th one could have gone.
Well, I would have assumed that they would have actually had humans in the stars enough that, yeah, Earth would be gone, but they'd still find a way to fight back against them somehow.
Maybe. I don't know.
You're focusing on the wrong thing.
I can make the same freeze ray thing the aliens had done.
Yeah. Maybe. But anyways, anything else?
That about wraps it up for me.
All right, fantastic. So, Mike, what was your co-op game of choice?
So, it's the 401st century, and the Imperium is...
All right, thank you for coming on to Co-Opinions. This has been Josh. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
I was about to say, what co-op game could you choose?
Oh, God. I'm going to shut it down now.
Oh, wait, there is a co-op game. It was on 360.
We're fine.
There was a co-op game, but that's not what I picked. Okay, all right, for real now.
Go ahead. No, I'm sure this one will be way less bro-y. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it's actually Gears of War 3, which is super less bro-y.
Yeah. The broiest.
As you say, wearing your fraternity shirt.
And your backwards hat.
Oh, crap. I forgot about the fraternity shirt.
Fine. Who's got the natty lights?
Not even when I was a fraternity bro.
All right.
Not even then.
What?
But anyway, so specifically within Gears of War 3, why I picked it as my favorite co-op game was because of the 2.0 Horde mode.
Now, 2.0, I'm sorry, but could you...
clarify?
Yes.
Certainly. So overall, there were 3 variations on Horde mode, and essentially, right away, I can't remember who made Gears of War 3 now. I feel so bad. Or who made the Gears games? Anyone remember offhand?
Not the Coalition. They made Gears 4, which... Not Gears 4. They made Judgment, which sucked. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, the developer... We'll go with the developer. The developer did 3 iterations of the game because of how popular it was. Horde mode became so popular it was almost its own thing. Kind of how Portal kind of came out of... Was it Orange Box?
Portal was in Orange Box, but it was actually a game in there. I would read
Segueing off. Anyway, so specifically Horde mode 2.0 I was a fan of. Big things about 2.0 was they changed up the way that the enemies came at you and whatnot to make it far more varied. This is the big difference. Epic, of course. It's freaking Epic Games. Okay, so Epic Games, shout out, Gears of War 3, Horde Mode 2.0, phenomenal. All right. They changed a number of things. They made it a lot more interesting in terms of the gameplay style, but the big thing about Horde Mode that made it great was it was a group of you against an enemy force that was continually coming at you in waves. So there was a tower defense element to it where each one of you earned money through each round, and at the end of the round you were given a brief period of time in which you could buy different defenses in different areas in order to build a tactical defense position. So you could buy barriers, you could buy turrets, you could buy special weapons. There were a couple of other things you could get as well.
Did you ever get to Silverback level?
Silverback, I was going to say there was a big one.
Did you get to Rocket Silverback level?
Yeah. Oh yeah, eventually we played the crap out of this thing.
R.I.P. Harambe.
Before its time. And after its time now. That was a pretty good derail.
That was.
It was a very good derail.
The golf clap for that one. But anyway, to get back on point. So it had the tower defense element as well, particularly the fact that as you earned more money, you could upgrade these defenses, as you talked about. You could get the better and better versions of the silverback. You could get better and better versions of your wall defenses. The barriers were my favorite.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Mostly because they slowed down enemies, so it allowed me to kill them, and then I could pick up their weaponry.
So you like the barriers better than the tripwires? The only reason I mention that is because the tripwires, I thought those were interesting. Because in the lower levels, they physically stopped enemies, but the higher levels, they became lasers.
That's what I meant. Sorry,
Okay.
I meant the tripwires. Apologies. I meant because the lasers is what I was thinking about.
Gotcha.
Because it specifically slowed the enemy down, so they basically, even no matter how strong they were, it would give you a couple of seconds of reprieve, even if you just needed to run away because it was a boomer and you weren't ready.
Okay.
But I also liked the fact that you didn't start off with very strong weaponry because at the end of each round, everything reset.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really awesome, the fact that you never became so overpowered that you made it unfun for maybe someone that you were playing with.
Now, see, I would almost argue that. Now, first off, Brent, you didn't play much of Horde mode. Did you play any Horde mode?
Yes, but I got to the point where when I came in, none of you guys play it.
Okay. And Kara actually watched me play a fair bit of Horde mode by myself, and this is why I will argue against
A fair bit?
Shh. I want to say I put 75 hours into Horde mode, and well over 80% of that was by myself.
I have zero interest in Gears games ever because of how much Horde mode I have watched.
Yeah, so that's why the OP... Well, because I was so dead set on getting the silverback, and I figured on a certain map, if I got a silverback and hunkered in the corner... Like, I could get up through wave 35 by myself without moving. Like, I could take out a Brumac with the silverback just sitting in the corner. And I would just get so much money, I'm like, I am the best. Like, I don't actually want to play this anymore now. But sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. It just seems you're going to be mowing everyone's lawn today.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. That means all the games we picked were good. But anyway, so I liked the layout. I liked the teamwork aspect. But the crux of it and the main thing was when picking a co-op game was how long and how much fun you had playing with your friends, with other people. And like you said, you sunk 75, 80 hours into it by yourself. We did at least that much as a group. We had a regular meeting. Like, I think it was like Friday nights. I would go over to Ryan's house and he and I would couch co-op. And then we would be online with two other people, generally my brother, and then another fourth person who would rotate out. And we would play this game for 6-7 hours. And we would do that every week, and we would just burn through. It was a ton of fun, and we never got bored with it. It was great. I still remember one specific point, probably the funniest thing my brother has ever said, and he did it completely accidentally, is we were going through a round towards the end, towards the higher levels. I think we were at like 15 or 16. And he got set on fire. And he's just laying there because, you didn't die instantly in Horde Mode 2.0. You got knocked down, and then there was 30 seconds where someone could come and revive you. So he's laying in the fire, and he goes, "Oh, no, I believe I'm on fire." And without missing a beat, Ryan goes, "Well, you sound surprisingly okay with it." Still, the funniest thing he's ever done, and he did it completely by accident. But all those things together, like how much fun you had playing as a unit, the fact that with the money that you had to earn in order to pay for these things, you couldn't just buy them off. You guys had to coordinate a lot. There was a lot of coordination happening, and I really appreciate that in my co-op games. Not only the tactical aspect, who's going to cover what angles so that we don't get overrun by enemies, but who's spending their money on what, who's doing defenses, who's doing offenses, how much cash do you have, are we saving up for a silverback? It was a lot of coordination, a lot of tactical design to it, and you could play for a long time, and you didn't really fall out with your friends. A lot of co-op games, you kind of start to get on each other's nerves partway through. I'm sure you have a GTA Online story that would probably prove that. And that never really happened with Horde Mode 2.0. You guys can't see it, but if Brent could die from a stair, that
it's
just
not
happened.
Brent.
Is it not?
No.
I'll tell the story when you die.
We can't talk on air.
Okay, so it was more of a...
I'll mention it on it. I'm telling the story.
Yes, so, case in point, with a lot of multiplayer games, when you play it with people long enough, it will eventually something super frustrating will happen, and you just start to fall out with people. And that never happened with Horde Mode. We almost immediately were able to find a good rhythm, and just everything clicked. It was great.
I know that I didn't often play... Now, here's a question. Did you ever try to play Horde Mode on your own?
I did briefly. It wasn't as much fun. I think because it didn't have that tactical aspect to it. It became more of a survival situation, like when you play zombies by yourself. It's just run and gun.
Yeah, it wasn't. I can't say it was
boring real fast.
It does get boring real fast. It didn't keep me from playing it, though. Am I right?
Right.
Now, would you say that? I mean, you definitely put more time into Horde mode than you did the main game, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, was that the peak of Horde mode? Because they tried to introduce something. You haven't even played Gears 4, have you?
I have not gotten to it yet, no.
Most people I've heard talk about that game only ever talk about Horde mode. I feel like it's a lot like Burnout, where everyone always just played the crash round of it instead of actually playing the rest of the game.
I know there's two different reasons for that.
For the Horde? Or
no, between the two different games.
Yeah. Well, with the Horde, speaking to the fact that it's such a huge thing, when they announced Gears 4 at... Was it E3 where they actually made the main announcement? I don't remember. I just remember that when they made the announcement, they were like, oh, we're making Gears 4. And then the huge announcement that popped up on all of the screens was Horde Mode 3.0. It was like Horde Mode 3.0 brought to you by Gears of War 4.
Yeah, we sure haven't heard much about Gears in a minute, have we?
I feel like it was there because they had to make some kind of restitution for Judgment.
Oh my god.
That's the main reason I haven't gotten to 4 yet. Judgment was awful.
Yeah.
To be fair, and we're both pretty harsh on this series, 4 was definitely way better. It was a big step up.
Yeah, but you would have to literally not dig as deep to be better than
True,
Judgment.
but we were really hard on it while we were playing. Looking back, it was better than we gave it credit for. Even story-wise, it was better.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you watch a Let's Play? I can't imagine this coming...
You admitted that when we were talking not too long ago.
Probably.
Did James Cameron have to go down into the trench to find the bar?
Yeah, find the secret door yeah. But anyways, yeah, I haven't heard much on the Gears front. So, anything else about Gears? I want to say the anecdote real fast.
Go ahead. Yeah, let's hear the anecdote.
Okay, so this isn't Gears related. This is Grand Theft Auto related. And there's two anecdotes, one much worse than the other. Mm-hmm. So this was Are you familiar with the heists, Mike? Did you play Grand Theft Auto Online at all?
Not a bunch. I've heard enough about them that I'm familiar with the idea behind them, but I never really tried.
Which one are you going with first?
So the first one's going to be when you crash the bus. This was just a little bitty one. This was at the beginning of the first major heist. The idea is two people have to break into a prison, a bus driver and a fake prison inmate, and two other people are doing a different thing.
Yeah, they have to go get a plane.
Caleb decides he's going to be the bus driver. Okay, Caleb, take it slow and steady. We just have to act like we're going in, normal prison, slow and steady. Slams into the back of a car right in front of the prison. You idiot. Oh my god.
Instantly sets off the security.
Fail. Instant fail. You're so dumb. You're so dumb. And after trial and error and trial and error, we get to the end of the mission. I don't even remember how you get there, but you're all on a plane and you have to jump out over the ocean. And do you remember me screaming about this?
Yes.
Oh my god.
It was one of the movie screens where it pans out from the house and you just hear it around.
I'm going to warn you now, the audio's going to clip on this next part. So, anyways, okay guys, jump out of the plane. Caleb, there's a whole ocean. Just pop your parachute and hit anywhere in the ocean. There's a whole ocean.
I'm going to be nicer than Josh. In his defense, this was the first time Caleb had ever parachuted.
He had jumped out of a plane. It's not like we were buzzing the tower. We were up there. Just open your parachute, open it now, aim for the water. I don't care if you're half a mile out, aim for the water.
So unlike the rest of us, he did not slow down.
He didn't circle. He didn't slow down. And we're sitting there just on the beach. I'm okay, just hit the water and we'll finally be done. Hit the water. Caleb has splattered and died. Mission failed. Caleb! Oh my god! What are you doing? Oh my god, Caleb!
The best part is I'm still coming in and I'm watching as he's coming into the beach, not heading for the water at a huge pace, smack into the...
How the ocean.
That's great. Years later, I would love if you could provide me some context. Oh, is 70% of the Earth 70 fall from space? There is a 7 out of 10 chance you're gonna hit water. And he didn't. And he didn't. It's been literally a year.
He just likes to defy expectations.
Oh, buddy. Oh my God. I'm reliving that trauma.
Now,
I'm sorry, by the way, Mike. That
was exactly what I wanted. Because it's not to say that we didn't have problems. Like the first time we ever had how do you pronounce it? A boomerang show up. The big T-Rex dude with the missile launcher.
Yeah.
Brumac. The first time we ever had one of those show up, I generally tend to play more savage, which for those of you not in the gaming know is just more aggressively. So you're running towards the enemies as opposed to actually sitting back and playing the way you should be playing. So the first time we had one of these pop, I don't even remember when it happened. It was like our second or third boss. I was way out there at the other end away from where everybody was. And all of a sudden there's some people moving around and whatnot. You know, guys are coming up behind me. I've got Ryan and my brother Jake are a little ways back down the road. And I turn a corner and he comes out. And I just turn around and start running the other direction. Follow me, follow me, follow me. We need to go right now. What's going on? I think I pulled aggro. We need to go right now. And this thing comes around the corner towards us. Oh, God.
I'm having bad flashbacks to the last time we co-opted Gears 3.
Anytime somebody says, I think I pulled aggro, immediately like, I hate you. I despise you and everything you've just done.
I am Leroy Jenkins up in this beat.
I legit despise you right now. God.
So there were a few of those moments, and I was soundedly harassed and harangued for doing that.
You should have been. You should have been shamed. But I'm noticing, for the most part, there seems to be some similar ideas behind all of these co-op games that we were a fan of. They brought new and unique elements to the games. I know with me and Kara's examples, Kara's managed to bring a horror element back into the game as well as provide unique perspectives. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yes.
Mine was it allowed for a certain cooperative element, shooty element that Resident Evil games typically didn't have. Executed what I would consider well. Mike, yours was a tactical element that Gears games didn't typically have, and Brent, yours was a planning element.
Yeah.
So these kind of seem like they brought something new to the games, is why we really like these co-ops. Is there dissenting opinion here?
Well, and I think overall it's how all of these games, there's so many games that do co-op so poorly as either a shoe-in or a shoe-in and you're constantly fighting. Like there's some games we played where you can bounce off each other. Donkey Kong, where you have to share balloons and lives, and so one person's stuck. You know, you get one bad person or a child, heaven forbid, a child playing with you, and all your lives are gone in 2 seconds.
Super Mario Brothers.
There can be so many huge downsides to co-op that I think all of these show a really rounded aspect of bringing people together and what gaming with friends should be.
Well, that brings me back. Like, I am convinced Nintendo is all about trying to bring back like in-house co-op, but also making you hate everyone that you care about.
Now, in defense of those people, I've seen you play new Super Mario Brothers Wii, and you're just terrible at it.
Well, even still, even if you're terrible, if you're good, never mind. I despise Smash.
Well, that's competitive.
Well, yes.
You despise Smash Brothers?
I still stand by.
Yes,
when
because
you went
everyone is it's just a nightmare on the screen and constant explosions, and you can't even tell what's going on before the whole world is gone. And
well, like with the new one, they added 8 players. That is a lot of. It's fun, but it's a lot of people.
That's just what makes it great. I'm shocked at all of you.
No, I didn't.
They love
fine
it.
with it. I didn't say it was bad. I'm just saying I understand what she's saying.
Anyways, now let's see. Brent, you look like you were going to add in something about Mario.
Oh no, I was going to add in something that you've seen someone play instantaneously. They're always worse.
Oh yeah, I mean that I do tend to generally have a dampening effect on people's abilities to play video games. It's fascinating. When me and Brent play Mario Kart, he cannot beat me. He can't beat me. but I watched him play 200cc by himself. He's the only reason I have gold on 200cc. I couldn't beat it, and when he played with me, he couldn't beat it. But when I stopped playing, he was able to beat it with gold. Strange but true. Anyways, speaking of games that don't...
You're a talent drain.
I am. I'm a talent vampire. Just suck all the good out of anybody.
Well, it kind of works well sometimes for living in the same house and playing with people together, because a lot of times we'll be playing together and people will see it, like walk in and see us playing a game and they're like, oh, well, she's terrible. I can just own her. And he steps off, gives them the controller, and then I just completely smash them. And it's not that I was bad. I was just bad compared to him.
Oh.
So it's kind of our own little...
Oh, yeah, this house got a hustle going on. Brent can actually roll hard on Puyo Puyo Tetris, but anybody who sees him play me thinks that he's just massive scrub lord. Massive scrub lord. But he's actually really good. Same with Kara in a lot of games. But it's funny, you mentioned, Kara, the games where you're actively detrimental, like Mario. Mario Brothers Wii, or even Mario Brothers 3D World. I feel like...
Was 3D... I didn't co-op enough a 3D World to remember.
So it depends on the level.
I was
In
like,
some levels, it's super helpful, but if you get to the special stages and you guys are not at the same difficulty level, I remember we had people come in from town when we'd started up the special stages, and they were bad. They were really bad. And all our lives just went... We couldn't get past like the first or second special world stage because they were so bad. And that's where a dissonant level of skill really makes it unfun. I know games for honorable mention that got around this were like Rayman games.
I was getting ready to bring that one up. I think, yeah, Rayman is a great example of how you can have that same generalized platforming and idea of a level, but everyone can really go at their own pace and keep up. One person can keep dying, and there's maybe the slightest bit that if you happen to jump right at the exact time they died, there might have been the slightest issue. But other than that, everyone can keep going, go at their own pace, and it included awesome sound or song-based levels and had a tribute to or ode to Black Betty. What more can you want in a co-op?
Rayman Legends is pretty rad.
In vein of frustrating Nintendo co-op snipper clips.
Okay, but all right,
it was still super fun, but some of it was really frustrating.
I'm honestly kind of surprised. Well, we are mentioning honorable mentions now, but none of us brought up like Portal 2 or Castle Crashers.
So Castle Crashers almost feels unfair to mention just because that's basically, I'm not going to say the penultimate beat-em-up game, but that was a very, very strong beat-em-up game. But I don't think that it did anything. It had an RPG element, yeah, but it was just a really strong beat-em-up game. And I think that any enthusiasm I have will be tainted by nostalgia because it was good. I haven't played the updated Xbox One version, but looking at it now for a game that's 9 years old, I don't think I would consider... At my time, maybe it would have been the favorite, but nowadays it's just really good.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say it's a favorite, but I think it's certainly a decent game.
Oh, definitely a decent game. Did you ever play that, Carol?
I did not. I think I played maybe a couple rounds once.
Okay, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just, when we were talking about honorable mentions, I think if you were specifically talking about, like, puzzle co-op games, that's where Portal 2 takes it.
Well, he asked me about Portal 2, and I'm like, but I never co-opted Portal 2.
And that's what I was going to say for Portal 2. I think it's a really fun co-op game. However, I don't think that the co-op added anything to it other than that the first one didn't. It was, and if you had someone that you were playing with that had a really strong personality, it actually kind of hindered the game because then that person's just being like, do this, do this, do this. And you're like, well, if you would have given me 30 more seconds, I could have done my half of the puzzle. And so I think if you worked well together as who you were playing with, which by all means is a lot of co-op games, it's going to work better for you. However, like I said, really fun to co-op, but I don't think that the co-op was really unique in any kind of way.
I don't know who she's talking about with this strong personality thing. Just no clue.
I'm sure.
Not pointing any fingers.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we can blame the game for the personality of the individual that you were playing with.
And they're not sorry either.
Even if you're playing, that's what I'm saying. Even if you're playing with someone that you work really well with and you are talking back and forth, it added, yes, an element of you getting to play together with someone, but it didn't.
More than anything, it just doubled.
Didn't change anything.
It doubled the amount of portals you got, especially if somebody thought spatially different. I know that I played it cooperatively with 3 people, I think, and it always ended up somebody being like, put a portal there, and there, just because they solved the puzzle before the other person. Like, it was rarely this perspective, what if we did this? Like, just one person knew it and the other one didn't.
So I suppose the advantage, again, going back to the crux of any co-op game being how much fun it is to play with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan and I didn't start working on the puzzle right away. We would both come into the room and look at it and then discuss the best way we thought to solve it. So it was more of a cooperative effort to even solve the puzzle. And then once we had an idea of how we wanted to try and solve it, then we would go to work.
That's not how we did it.
Wasn't the multiplayer for that its own story too?
Yes, that one.
So
that was.
So a lot like Splinter Cell 3.
Yes.
Oh, that was the other great thing about the co-op. The robots were just fun. Like
they were super
when they
fun.
high-fived and whatnot, like when you could do the little emotions to each other.
And I loved, if I will give one strong thing to Portal 2, you did the motions because they were fun, and it kind of like gave a little human fun element to them. That ended up being the last puzzle of the game, is you couldn't get through the last door if you couldn't prove you were a person. And to prove you were a person, you had to do these goofy actions you'd been playing the whole game. It was really funny because the first person I played through the co-op with, he landed on the other side and then he just did a little jig. And GLaDOS goes, "What did you just do? Do that again." And I landed over there and I did a little jig. It's like, oh, thank God, it thought you were humans. And it opened up. So we didn't even know that's what it was. It was great. But anyways, we are about out of time. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add?
Supposed to give one more honorable mention to
Go
a
for
game
it.
that was interesting co-op, Journey.
That is a fascinating example for co-op, because that's not co-op where you actually like value add. It's just being able to experience the game with somebody else. And on top of that, if it's somebody who is... Have you actually played it cooperatively yet?
I tried starting with you that one time.
Is that the game with no end?
No, that's the game where you're the guy in the brown robe.
Oh, okay.
Where if you can't talk to the person you're playing with.
Yeah, you can't actually speak to them. And if you manage to collect all of the collectibles in this game, you get a white robe, which signifies that you've done everything, which at that point you're more of a guide than a follower, like a participant, which is reflected in the game's narrative itself, because you're kind of following a guy in a white robe in the distance the whole time. And now you get to be that guy. And it's a game you experience with somebody else, not so much as have a huge benefit. There is some slight benefit, but it's interesting because that's more of a game that the co-op adds a certain weird camaraderie than necessarily an enhancement. So that's a fascinating example. Good example, Brent. But anything else?
Good, Brent. Good, Brent. Pat's for you.
I don't think I was being that condescending. Maybe a little. But anyways, if nothing else is to be added, Brent, thank you very much for coming on.
Yep.
Mike, thank you very much for coming on.
Certainly.
And Kara, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So what did you think was your favorite co-op game, and why was that your favorite co-op game? Were any of the examples we gave total garbage? If so, why? Let us know. But until next time, my name is Josh, and this is Co-Opinions.